Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. The video of the year, the playoff scenarios, the playoff projections from Bonzo Ball, as well as the Sacco scenarios and Sacco projections from Bonzo Ball. Now, since we last talked, Tyler Larson tanks to the 6th seed to get on this side of the bracket. To get on this side of a bracket versus Mark Miguel, then eventually maybe versus Jake Cundy. A ballsy play, as he undoubtedly has a harder matchup in the first round, right? Mark's team is better than Coob's team by a good margin, I would say. But if Ty can get past Mark, he runs into this shitter of a squad instead of this wagon of a squad in the second round. I truly, my first playoff projection. This is the thing I feel the most assuredly about of this whole thing is that whoever gets out of this 3 through 6 seed matchup is winning in the second round and going to the championship. I think for Sarah's a one and done bye team. No Kyler Murray. Saquon's been banged up to end the year. Obviously, this team lost Cooper Kupp early. This team looked like a wagon, and all of a sudden you lose Cooper Kupp, and it's like, who's he starting? Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, I don't know. I like how Ty's team and Mark's team matches up against Jake's team. Jake doesn't have the stack anymore. And I mean, Ty's got the explosiveness of Tyreek Hill, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams. I'd like Mark's team a little bit more in that matchup, but I still think I favored Ty in a head-to-head with Simfer Sarah now that Kyler went down, because that Kyler, he has to slot in a QB. Not only that, but also now Hopkins is downgraded too. Who knows if this man just packs it in and says it's a lost season. How does Kyler Murray's injury affect DeAndre Hopkins? Not well. You watch that video, I'm sure it tells you not well. They'll be getting Tampa Bay that week. Any predictions I take, in this video, you got to take them with a little bit of a grain of salt. I reserve the right to change them come the week that it happens, because I'm not going to look that far ahead and look at who plays who in week 15 and week 17 and week 16, what the matchups are. Not going to do that. I'm just going to go through game by game. What do I think is going to happen? Dan Snyder versus Ravens Flock Let's Fly. Cuba Smooth trying to get out of the first round of the playoffs for the first time ever in his Big Dick's Fantasy Football League career. Whereas Ravens Flock Let's Fly, I mean, he's trying to return to getting playoff wins since his championship a few years ago. This one's going to be tight. Cuba's been talking. He thinks he's got this in the bag. Both of these teams have some players with some interesting things going on. Obviously, Ravens Flock at the quarterback position. Will it be Tyler Huntley? Will it be Matt Ryan? Will it be Mike White? That's a decision to monitor. It probably will matter. One of those guys are going to go off. Who's it going to be? Right? That's essentially what owner John Alberts has to determine. This would be a favored matchup in Ravens Flock Let's Fly by a lot if Dallas Goedert had never got hurt and if Lamar Jackson had never got hurt, right? You imagine this team with Lamar at QB, the way that he was playing early in the season, and you imagine, Dallas Goedert, the way that he was literally the tight end too before he got hurt. This would be a matchup favored in Ravens Flock's favor. But I'm going to say this is a pure coin flip. I know you're going to say I'm biased, but I think this is a pure coin flip. I think this is a close game. When you look at and analyze, Jonathan Taylor has an easy matchup against Minnesota. Mix in with a tough matchup against Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay has been pretty ass. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm mostly worried about Mixon this week. And then you go down the lineup here. I mean, Dobbins has been looking good. Gabe Davis, Ayuk, Devontae Smith, hopefully 2 out of 3 of those produce good points. And Goddard, I mean, he's back. He's back in practice. He appears to be on track to play against the Bears. He's getting started if he's back in the lineup. I'm starting him over Aquanto, all right, obviously. Look to Cuba Smooth side. Joe Burrow, no T. Higgins, right? Or what are they going to do with T. Higgins? I don't know. Last week he was playing without 3 of his top 4 pass catchers, and he did all right. Is Coob going to start Tua against Buffalo on Saturday, because Burrow's got the uncertainty, because those Bucks are desperate, right? They got a good defense. Um, a big swing in this game could be, say that the Bengals, say the Bengals score 4 touchdowns this week on Sunday. Are 4 of them passing touchdowns and none of them rushing touchdowns? Well, that hurts Mixon, and that's a big swing. Are 2 of them rushing touchdowns, whether to Mixon and P. Ryan, and maybe only 1 or 2 touchdowns is to Burrow? That's a big swing. That's a big thing to monitor, obviously, because we got Mixon on one side, Burrow on the other. Then we go into Aaron Jones against the Rams. That should be good. Chubb against Baltimore. Baltimore, number 1 run D since we got Roquan. That's a tough matchup. Amon-Ra at the Jets. Will Sauce Gardner be on him? I don't know. That's a little bit scary. Jalen Waddle hasn't done anything of late. Um, Coop really needs him to return to that 16, 30, 19-point performance, but it's been 4 weeks since he's done something. Schultz, he's hit or miss. He had the 2 touchdown week, but kind of a touchdown dependent tight end. His only non-touchdown dependent week was Houston last week because they were throwing, because they were down. This week they got the Jags. Jacoby Myers and Evan Ingram at the flex. These teams are pretty even at flex. Who would he bring off the bench? Maybe Tua. Maybe Tua. But that's that matchup. Everything I just went through, right? Coop's got a couple players with tough matchups. Ravens Flock has a couple, players with touch matchups. The quarterback and tight end decision, obviously not in favor for Ravens Flock, but I think he's got the edge in running back. And at wide receiver, you want to give the edge to Cuba Smooth, but Waddle's been doing nothing, and Amon-Ra might have sauce on him. So I think wide receiver is pretty even. It's going to come down to who gets touchdowns, and I think it's going to be a very close game, which is what ESPN projects as well. Then we go into this matchup here, right? Draft night goes detrimentally horny. Mark needs that sack to come through. He needs Allen to throw a touchdown or 2 to Diggs and Dawson Knox in some fashion, or he needs Diggs to have one of those nuclear, weeks. Because last week he didn't, and he lost to Ty, right? He would have lost to Ty if Ty would have just played all his starters. Ty had Tyreek go off. Going through line by line here, is anybody going to bring anyone off the bench? No, it looks like these are the lineups that these teams are rolling with. Mark, Josh Allen versus Miami. I like that. He struggled against Miami last time, but they need this game. And it's going to be prime time on Saturday night. I think that him and Diggs have a good matchup. Ty, he's got Rodgers against LA. Who even knows what's going on with the Packers? I mean, you could see Rodgers throwing 3 touchdowns to Christian Watson, or you could see him throwing 0. So definitely the edge to Mark there. But at running backs, Swift has been getting more carries lately, and so has Pollard. But, I mean, Eckler and Fournette are both great. Tampa Bay needs this game against Cincinnati. You figure, Lenny's a pretty good bet to get a touchdown. And then, Tyreek against Buffalo. What did he do against Buffalo last time? Oh, wow. His worst game of the season against Buffalo. His only non-double-digit game was against Buffalo. That's interesting. I don't know. I can't remember if that was because he got hurt, or I think that was just the Bills just locked him down. Pretty interesting. Miami won that game, and Tyreek did nothing. I don't know if that was a Jalen Waddle game or what. Amari Cooper against Baltimore. I mean, Amari's just been solid, except since Watson came back, because Watson's been so ass. So, Amari always a threat to go for 202, but what just happened? Amari's always a threat to go for 202, but I wouldn't project it. I'd say he's probably not going to have that good of a week. Waller's coming back, wild card. Mike Williams versus Devontae Adams. Obviously, you prefer Devontae, but Mike Williams is a great flex. Deontay Foreman, Jerick McKinnon. Mark with Jerick McKinnon, man, he came on strong. He's either going to get you 5 points or he's going to get you like 14 with the way the Chiefs are playing. I lean Mark in this favor. I don't think ESPN's correct in the 49% versus 51%. Mark could really run away with this one. I think if Ty wins this one, I think it's close. And I think that Mark could run away with this one, or he could win a close one. I think I just lean a little bit Mark's team. Adams had a terrible week last week, which led to him not doing so well. And, the Diggs-Allen connection didn't link up. But it was still a pretty close matchup. So you imagine if Diggs and Allen get it going, I think the rest of Mark's roster can finish it out maybe and have a good week. I would project Mark to advance. Whoever, and then now, I reviewed matchups for the week. Now I'm going to go into the overall playoff projections. I'll do the same thing for the matchups next week. Whoever's in these slots, right? I'll go in depth. Definitely want to take time and do that. Whoever wins this one is losing next round to Troy's team. I don't think that's a bold prediction. Uh, just look at his roster. Josh Jacobs, RB1. Whatever it is, RB2, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1, Jamar Chase. He's been hurt. He's actually in points per game, probably the wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1. Travis Kelce's the tight end 1. Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback 1. I mean, it takes something, Terry McLaurin's a top 20-yard receiver. Hollywood's been hurt. He's a top 15 wide receiver. And Zeke, on a points per game basis, because he missed a couple games, he's been a top 15 running back. There's nothing to dislike about this team. So that team's walking to victory next round. And then, like I said, I don't like how Simfer is looking. I've got whoever advances out of this. I'm projecting Mark, I guess. I'm projecting Mark to beat Ty. And I'm thinking that it's going to be Mark beating Jake and Troy beating either me or Cube in this round. And then in round 3, I got Troy winning the championship. Not a bold prediction there. But that's my prediction for the playoffs bracket. Now we'll go. Who do I think is taking third out of me and Coob and Jake? I think whoever gets to that third place game out of me and Coob is beating Jake's team. I think Jake's going 0-2. That would be 0-2 in the playoffs. I think whoever gets that third place game out of me and Coob is primed to beat this limping to the finish team that Jake has here. I'm just not feeling Jake's team right now. So big matchup for me and Coob this week. Whoever gets through will probably get to play Jake. And that's that. That's that for my playoff projections. Sacco projections. You got Brett down there at 3-11, Alvin at 4-10, but this matchup won't be close. Alvin's team since that trade, Garrett Wilson, CD, Mark Andrews, Mike Evans, Jalen Hurts. Everybody who I just named is better than everybody on Red's team except for McCaffrey. Brett did pick up Purdy, and he's got Olave, but other than that, you don't like anyone on this team. Brett would need, Purdy to go off and throw a touchdown to Kittle or something and get his stack going, and CMC to go nuclear to have a chance in this matchup. But it's a big matchup this week because if Brett loses, he stays at 3 wins. Alvin moves to 5 wins. And then Shelbin will at minimum be at 5 wins. If he wins this week versus Sam, he could jump to 6 wins. So Brett basically needs to win this week to avoid Sacco. If Brett wins this week, it gets interesting because he could be at 4 wins, Shelbin could be at 5 wins, Alvin could be at 4 wins still. And then you see how it shakes out from there. But it's looking really bad for Brett because he's already lagging in points for, except to Shelbin, right? I don't think he's going to catch Alvin in points, and I don't think that Alvin is going to lose 2 of the next 3. So the way that it looks like this is it. If Breck loses this week, he's basically the Sacco, unless Shelbin loses, and then he gets a chance to play Shelbin head-to-head. That could be a big swing. But then Brett would need to win out, and Shelbin would need to lose out. So Brett's biggest hope is to win this week and Shelbin to lose. That'll put them very close and potentially meeting in the final week to play for Sacco. But if Shelbin wins and Brett loses, Brett is the Sacco. So big week to monitor there. Obviously, Brett's my Sacco prediction. If it's not Brett, I think it's Shelbin, and I think they're the only 2 at risk. I don't see – oh, shit. Gosh damn it. I don't see Alvin losing 2 out of these next 3. Alvin could probably run through this bracket and win all 3 of his matchups, or definitely win 2 of them. So interesting to see what happens and what shakes out in the Sacco bracket for this week. Those are the projections. Good luck, everybody. Good luck. Happy playoffs. We'll be back next week to review what happened and also project the next week.